Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Higher Moment Mastermind. We are here every week, every Friday, to help you along with your job search and answer your tough questions. My name is Shira Lotzar. I am an association recruiter. I'm also a career coach and help folks with their compelling brands with resumes and LinkedIn and networking and interviewing. I'm also the co-founder and volunteer of boomerworks.org for those of you, or those of you who know folks who are age 50 plus and interested in recareering to self-employment. We offer free educational services for the community, boomerworks.org. Today we have guest experts, Julien Bois, who's an executive recruiter in accounting and finance, Corliss, career coach with federal government resumes, KiKi, who normally is with us but is actually moving today, so she can't join us. She is a video image consultant and also a social media expert, and Mike Robinson, who hopefully will be here very soon. He's a career coach in government contracting and high tech. So today, please remain muted while you're in the main room, and you can certainly post your questions in the chat. And we are going to start with a 10-minute breakout like we usually do. And your breakouts now, as of last week, we kind of shifted things around a little bit. So when you're in your breakout, you want to go ahead and do two things. Number one, share any top questions, top job search question you might have with your peers. But also, if you have any what we're calling power lessons to share, best practices, tips, things that have worked for you in your job search, this is the time to share it. And so what will happen is when we come back to the main room, please feel free to post your questions in the chat. However, I am going to ask people to open their mics to verbally share any power lessons with the whole group. So share your tip in the chat, in your breakout, but then also really would love, I think the whole group would love to hear your tips as well. And then time permitting, we'll do a couple power tips from a couple of our experts. We also have some Q&A not only in the chat, but some people ask some questions in advance. And then at 10 o'clock or around then, we'll do 15-minute speed networking. And then we do have this power networking spreadsheet. I'll go ahead and put this bit.ly in the chat box. This is just a spreadsheet. If you'd like to fill it out, it has for your contact information, with your contact information and a little bit about what you're looking for so that you guys can keep in touch with each other, okay? So with that, also if you would like the recording, it's on my website here, purposefulhire.com/Higher Moment Mastermind. So we're going to go ahead and break out into the breakout rooms. Give me 1 second to just put all that together. And remember that you want to hit the blue join button when you see it. Have fun, everyone. See you in 10 minutes. We're actually just, hey.
Hi.
Hi. So I put you in the drawing room, although you don't have, at this point, we're like closing, or like we're wrapping up. So you could
Okay.
you could just hang out here.
It's just you and me talking, right?
For now, right. Although we are being recorded.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay. If you can hang out to the end, then we can talk about higher focus afterwards, if you're okay hanging out after the meeting.
Yes.
Thanks. Where everyone's in breakout rooms right now, but they're coming back in just a minute, so just hang tight.
Hi, Shira. How you doing?
I am blessed. How are you?
Good, good, good. I've been meaning to reply to your email. Thank you so much for the encouragement. The letter is still being written, but hopefully it'll be ready to go soon.
Excellent.
Yes.
Glad to hear. All right. Welcome back, everyone. Hope that was a good networking experience for you. So let's do this. Would love to hear, first of all, for those of you who have questions to share, go ahead and start typing them in the chat box. We will get to them soon. Would really love to start with the power lessons. So who would like to open their mic and share one tip to the group, something that's worked for you successfully in your job search, now or in the past?
I'll go. My name is Kelly. I've heard a lot of great things about you, Sherry. I missed you at the Career Network Ministry when you did your presentation. But so what I've learned through Career Network Ministry is when you apply for these jobs on these job boards, first go to LinkedIn, find out who you know and there and connect and ask them to help you out. And then either apply or maybe ask them if you should apply or maybe they'll referral. But that's a great way of doing it. And also, you know, it helped me get some interviews. And, you know, when I've done these interviews, I just fully put them down to myself and, you know, practice interviewing, but just really having a conversation with these people. Be prepared, but having a business conversation. Don't be freaked out about the questions they're going to ask, but just be prepared and just be yourself.
Great. Yeah, these are some of the things that we've been trying to emphasize in these last weeks. Thanks, Kelly. That's for a great reaffirmation of all that. Finding an internal champion is huge.
Yep.
Because people do business with people they know, like, and trust, right? And it's kind of a birds of a feather situation. So yes, every time you want to apply for a role, whether you've seen wherever you've seen the posting, go to LinkedIn, type in the name of the organization in the upper left-hand corner in the search bar, hit enter, and you will see the people who show up in that organization. And if that person who you want to, like, let's say it's the hiring manager or the recruiter that you want to get noticed by, if that person's a second level, look for your mutual connections. Write to that person, whoever your first level contact is, and let them know that you actually recently applied. In fact, that's one thing I will highlight, Kelly, is it's really important to apply to the job first.
Okay.
Then go to your mutual contact and then ask them if they wouldn't mind forwarding your resume and cover letter. In other words, mention to your person,
Yep.
I've recently applied. Ask them if they would forward your resume and cover letter to the hiring manager, whoever it is, by name. In other words, would they forward it for extra consideration? Because all you're trying to do is have them kind of airlift your application out of that database, which is kind of that cyber cloud, cyber black hole, to get noticed. So yeah, absolutely.
Someone told me the only problem about doing that is if they have a referral program, employee referral, they won't get credit though if you do that.
Well, I guess it depends on the situation. It should be that they should be able to say to their employer, look, Kelly recently applied. He is my referral.
Okay.
Okay. So they should be able to. Now, what you can do is, if you want to be extra careful, you could write to that person first and say, look, I would like to apply to make it easier, but if you have a program where you need to do it first, just let me know. So that would be the other way to do it. Okay. But in order for the HR person to get access to your, to be able to find you in the database, you are going to have to apply at some point.
And Bob Kozinski gives you 2 thumbs up. You're awesome.
Okay. Oh, God bless you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Who else has a power tip or a power lesson to share? Something that's worked for you in your search.
Well, I typed this in already in the chat box, but our group kind of through like various different shares, we came to the conclusion it's easier to know what you don't want than what you do want. That especially for when you're in career transition, when you've been on one track for so long, that when you are like, you know, the world is a menu of choices, and well, which one's the right one to do? And but it's easier for you to identify. Well, I know that I don't want to do that. It's like I don't want to be a statistician. I don't want to be a social media manager. I don't want to be a person or various different other things. It's hard to identify. I do want to get into coaching. I do want to be a psychologist or various different other things.
Sure, sure. So one of the tips to follow along with that might help to refocus what you do want is an exercise that I call passiontivity. I'll kind of maybe at some other point do a fuller little training on this, but it's an exercise that I developed that helps people to identify their skills as they align with career motivators. It can be very, very helpful to figure out your career trajectory. It's 4 boxes. The first is called high engagement. The second is called stopgap work. The third is called professional development. And the fourth is called disengagement. And I'll just emphasize the first box because that's really where the juice is. The first box is high skill, high motivation. That's the high engagement one. High skill, high motivation. So these are skills that you have. You feel that you're a rock star at. Of course, we can always get better, but in your own mind, you're a rock star at these things. And you love to do the work. That's the intersection that you're looking for. So not things that you're great at and you don't love, that's stopgap work. In other words, things that you tolerate. Things that you're great at and you love is high engagement. If you can focus on that particular box, the 5, 7, 10 things that you love to do and that you're great at, what you can do is kind of look at them in aggregate and either compare them to what you've done in the past to say, look, this actually is really aligned with what I want to continue to do. Or what you may want to do is airlift out 1 or 2 skills and then do something that I call ing versus I know that sounds funny. Ing is the skill, is the profession. So for example, maybe one of the skills that you love to do and you're great at is writing. Well, writing is a skill, but writer is the profession. Event planning, it might be one of your skills, but event planner is the profession. In other words, you could take it, you could transmogrify it, if you will, and pull it out and say, you know what, even though my career has been, I don't know, director of operations or something, but I really, really have this passion for writing and I really, really want to be a writer. You could then go through your resume, pull out all of your writing accomplishments, and then turn that into a new brand. In fact, I did that specific one years ago. I'm not sure if you guys have heard me tell this story before, for an attorney. I was coaching an attorney years ago and he just wanted to be a recovering attorney. He didn't want to be an attorney anymore. And turns out in our coaching, he realized that he wanted to be a writer. And like, how do you turn an attorney to a writer? Well, that's exactly what we did. We went through all of his experience, pulled out every single time he had a writing accomplishment, relabeled everything in his resume, wrote a new LinkedIn profile that talked about his passion for writing and why he likes to write and the style he likes to write. Anyway, he ended up getting a job as a journalist for a legal trade publication. Okay, and that was the ing versus er, a real classic sort of a sense. So that might be helpful, James, in terms of helping to figure out the new trajectory. All right, other power lessons, things you guys want to share?
I have something to share.
Yeah.
In our group, another lady also discussed that preparing for the interview is a key. So instead of going through your resume and just preparing for that, you should go to the job description also, look at the key description,
Yes.
the key things that they're looking for,
Yes.
and then preparing an answer for that and examples for that and rehearsing that. And when you're asked, you can just answer the questions at the top of your head, and that is very helpful. I have been doing that too, so that's working for me.
Yes, I'll absolutely 100% underscore that. In fact, if you guys go to the past recordings of this group HMM, you'll see we've talked about that. And yes, we've kind of elaborated on that idea. Absolutely comb through the job description, absolutely get a handle on what kind of business challenges this organization wants you to solve. Really, really read that job posting, because all of that's buried in there. It may all kind of all look the same to you, but they have used some keywords that if you do some analysis, you should be able to do some very thoughtful preparation about where is their industry status right now, what's going on with their organization, what's going on in the department, what are the challenges, right, that they want you to solve. Then you can go back to your accomplishment stories and align them together, right? What you've done as it relates to how you can help them solve their challenges. So absolutely, yep. Any other tips before we move on?
I got one.
Yep, Nick?
LinkedIn. I've noticed that it's much more helpful when you have at least 500 connections. And there are a lot of people out there that are LinkedIn open networkers. That's what LION stands for.
Yep.
I disagree with that. I think it works much better if you have people that are in your industry, and of course the human resources people that are in your industry as well. So building out your network to be more focused in your industry with people that are in your tribe. So I've noticed a big change once I've hit 100 or 500, sorry. And I know people who have 10,000, and they said that is a major milestone as well. So I'm looking forward to that.
So if I can kind of affirm what you're saying, maybe do it in a both and situation. So yes, definitely go after people who are in your tribe meaning your industry, and or your lane, meaning your profession. So absolutely build that up. And it can be helpful to expand your network even beyond, because you never know who knows who, right? Especially if you're going to that organization trying to get an internal champion. It could be that the person that is your mutual contact has nothing to do with what you do, but they know the right person, right? So having that expansiveness can be helpful, as well as having a really strong core group of people who are in your tribe or your lane.
So Shira, somebody asked why 500 connections? Why?
Well, part of that is optics. So long time ago, LinkedIn sort of created this 500 plus category to say, hey, you're a networker, or like kind of you're in the know. And so when you have less than 500, it can optically indicate that you're not really kind of a power user on LinkedIn. But practically speaking, I would just say it's not even about 500 or whatever. It's more, the more contacts you have, the more expansive your networking opportunities. The more first levels you have, the more seconds and the more thirds, and that's just flat out going to expand your opportunities to connect with more people. So,
if I could add, years ago, that goal will give you extra features at that time, and now it doesn't, because everyone's reached that level at the inception when the website began. That's what they did. They set goals. So like, if you reach 500, you get this.
Yeah.
But that's not, everyone now pretty much has 500 for the most part.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, let me jump in real quick. I've got a lot of people, and by having more people, it expands your network, and you're searching for jobs and all that stuff. You have more connections. And this girl named Melanie Woods, she's phenomenal. She has all these videotapes on how to improve your LinkedIn profile. She corrected the people at Career Network about having a lot of people connected. You be very careful who you select. Like, some of these people are just, just there. But, just by having a lot of people expand your search on first and second connections. So it's very helpful, but just got to be careful too.
A lot of great tips here. All right, anything else before we move on to the advanced questions? Okay, yeah. All right, so we had some questions come up in the Google form and wanted to go ahead and share them. And myself and our experts here will go ahead and go through them. So these two are actually very related, having to do with networking. So the question is how to follow up and maintain for long periods of time after an initial meeting. And so there are a lot of different ways to answer this question. One of the ways that I would, and Julian and Mike, feel free to, and Corliss, feel free to chime in. Is look, you want to build a relationship, and that's really what networking is all about. Now, some people you're going to have a stronger connection with than others, but I would suggest that depending upon how strong of a connection you had, you could either, schedule regular meetings. They don't have to be exactly, at a certain time and date, but just make sure that you touch base periodically. Say, hey, do you want to have a coffee chat? Help each other a little bit. The other thing is keep that person top of mind when you're networking. Are there connections you can make for them? Are there articles that you've read where you thought of them, blog posts, what have you, where you think you can be of help to them, be a go-giver in your networking? So you're not going to write them every day. You're not even necessarily going to write them every week, but the stronger the connection, the more you're going to want to be thinking about how can you help them with achieve their goals. And of course, hopefully that blessing will come back to you. Julian or Mike, did you want to add to this at all?
Yeah, I can come back to the LinkedIn and the networking. I have a slightly different view of it. To me, my LinkedIn has to be with people that I really want to stay connected with. So having 10,000 people, I will say, is impossible to stay in touch with, because your networking is as good as what people know you for and from. For example, if you have 10,000 LinkedIn people on your network, chances are you probably can find a second connection to the job that you want to apply or the company you're interested in. However, when you ask for that favor, can you please introduce me? People are going to be like, I don't know you. I've never spoken with you. So I will tell you that personally, I have a little bit over 1,000 connections, and I keep it up every 90 days. I get in touch with those people. And that's because, and if people don't want to hear from me, then I take them out of my LinkedIn network, and I replace people that I meet on a regular basis. So just, that's my view of LinkedIn. It's my personal network.
By the way, that's actually, guys, that's actually how Julian is on this call, because Julian and I hadn't been in touch in quite a long time, and I was just on his list, and he just gave me a random call a number of months ago. I'm like, this is great timing, Julian. I'm about to start this HMM thing. Do you want to join it?
So Shira, if you don't mind, I would like to ask Julien, how does he, since he has more than 1,000 connections, how does he reach out to them after the 90 days? Is it like an individual message that is sent to as a group to them, or does he call them, or how does it work in practice?
Yeah, most of them I call. Because I have their contact. If not, then I send them a message and say, would you like to reconnect? If I don't hear anything, then usually I get rid of that connection and I move on. It has to be a very active network for me to be interested in on LinkedIn. Otherwise, otherwise there's no use for me. So, that's how I do it.
Yeah, and everybody has a different style. And just quickly to Julian's point, yes, if you have people who are in your network that you don't know and you reach out to them to ask for that internal champion, yes, you're right. A lot of times they'll be like, I don't know you. On the other hand, I have found personally that every once in a while, if you reach out to that acquaintance or non-acquaintance, some people will just do you a favor. And you can just simply say, I know we haven't met before. Would you consider forwarding my application, to so-and-so for extra consideration? You're not asking for recommendation. Just would they do you a favor and get you noticed? So I think there's so many different perspectives on LinkedIn. Do whatever feels comfortable for you, taking all this advice kind of into the mix.
Hey, Sherry,
let me agree with Shira here, because I've had complete strangers help me That can happen when you have enough people in your network.
Let me jump on there too. Sherry, I totally agree, because I've asked several people to help me out, and they say sure, no problem, because people know that people are hurting right now, and I sent out 30 emails to 30 different people I connected to for another person, and several people sent forward their resumes to the HR person, the hiring manager, just asking, can you help this person out? He's looking for a job, and people want to help people out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's my take.
Yeah. So
Shira, quick question though. I think I've been struggling with this particular thing because I feel like if I contact people only when I need help, is that really a relationship? I think because maybe it's a cultural thing, but I feel like
it's not a relationship, but remember that people help people under all kinds of circumstances. It's not like you're trying to reach out to this person every single day and asking for help. Once in a while, if you have a need, it's okay to just touch base. I mean, look at what's happening right now during COVID. How many strangers are helping strangers? Churches are helping people. My church has been helping people. We're just helping people because we want to help people. That doesn't necessarily mean we have an intimate relationship with the people that we're helping, but we want to help. So you just have to balance out, how frequently you're reaching out, which, yes, of course, with somebody you don't know, it's going to have to be once in a while, probably very long once in a while. And the people, of course, who know you better are going to want to help you in a more sort of concentrated way. So moving on here, relative to the networking, I'm trying to apply to jobs within the first 24 hours after they're listed, and then following up with connections as they exist. How long should I wait before following up if I haven't heard anything? I'm mindful that I have more time than hiring managers. That's very true. In job search, you gotta pack your patience, and so if you haven't heard anything, I would say within a couple of weeks. After a couple of weeks, it's okay to sort of ping the hiring manager or ping the recruiter, however you heard about the opportunity, just to say, was my resume received? They may or may not actually follow up, because they're getting dozens, if not sometimes hundreds of applications. I wish that every recruiter had that process where they would just automatically let you know that your application's been received at the very least. But yeah, you can't really be nudgy, but I would say, yeah, after a couple of weeks, you can. Julian or Mike, any different thoughts on that?
Yeah, so as someone who who posts daily, and because that's what we do, we do tend to, of course, we get hundreds of applications that we have to review, etc., that my colleagues have to review. But we do tend to give a little bit of a nudge to people who follow up, and I will say before those 2 weeks, just because to me it seems like, and it has to be a well thought out, not desperate sounding note, right? But if you do that and you say, look, I just applied, I'm very interested because blah, 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 then we as recruiters tend to reach out to them and respond, whether positively or negative, at least we respond.
Yeah, thanks for that. Okay. All right. So, so actually this one, Julian, as you know, you're going to be answering this one. This is, it says, I've been presented with a contract to hire opportunity. Can you share some best practices and red flags about recruiting for these opportunities and these roles in general? And Julian, just to clarify, so Julian is a third-party recruiter, and his firm does both permanent placement, so traditional full-time placement, and contract to hire. So Julian.
Right. So contract to hire, the first thing I will say is talk to your recruiter and see if they really know what the opportunity is all about. And if they don't know, or they're giving you vague answers, that's a huge red flag. That means they're into the volume thing, and you will never really understand what's going on inside the company. Two, I would also ask, of course, to be able to talk to the hiring manager at the company. If the recruiter is calling you, that means they're really interested in you. If they say, oh, no, don't worry, they're just going to take your resume for granted and you can start next week, that's another red flag. I would want to talk to the hiring manager and make sure you're comfortable and have a good rapport with that person. So I'm not trying to be negative on the contract to hire. I mean, we do a lot of it. I have an entire division in my company that does that. I will tell you that it is just do your homework And when you're meeting with the hiring manager, knowing why the position is open, just say, so what do you really want me to achieve over the next 30 days or 90 days and a year? What does really good look like? And see if they have thought this through. If they haven't, to me, that means it's like a fire is burning and they're just drinking through the fire hose. If they are able to give you some kind of answer, I would feel a lot better with that type of opportunity.
Great, thank you, Julien, appreciate that. All right, and this next one here, pros and cons of methods to track a job search. What works? I've heard of Jibber Jabber, Cardfile, etc. Trying to find something easy and versatile. So I'm guessing that people on this call probably have some sort of tools. I did a little research, and this is a link here. I can go ahead and post it in the chat box. But really, if you go ahead and actually just Google, just Google track your job search, there are tons of related articles with all kinds of tips in there. But this particular one seemed to be interesting to me. Does anybody want to just quickly raise their mic and just share if they use any particular tools that work for them?
I use old school spreadsheet, which has the name of the position, the organization. I have a notes column. I have a connections column. So if I do reach out to someone for personal contact, then I track that as well. So and then I color code it based on if I have an interview or if I know it's dead in the water. So that's how I track my job search.
Yeah, I add to that as well. I do the same thing, but I check and see if that posting is still alive or not.
I use hunter.com. It's free, HUNTR.com. It actually sends me daily or weekly reports that say, it's a tickler. Hey, you haven't reached out to so-and-so in, 10 days. And so I find it really helpful. And it bridges the gap between LinkedIn and a spreadsheet. And so I find it really helpful.
And again, it's HUNTR, correct? It's not ER?
Right.
HUNTR. Yeah, great. Okay, so with that, we have a few minutes left. Corliss, did you want to go ahead and look at the chat box for us to see if there's anything lingering we need to address?
Absolutely. We've addressed some of these, but here's a really good question. I think I was going to throw it to Julien. Do you have any best practices for elevator pitches, some advice on how to have the best elevator pitch?
Yes, I'm speaking way too much today.
Go for it.
But I will say, what I will always appreciate in a candidate and in a person in general is that you have your story prepared. And your story, certainly there's an elevator pitch attached to it. And, I can discuss this ad nauseum. But what I will say is you cannot have a good elevator pitch if you don't have a good story about yourself. So be prepared to remember and tell your story. And literally, it's telling a story. How did you start? The things that make you human, professional, accomplished, everything. And when you're telling your story to yourself and you tell it to your spouse, your significant other, whatever the case may be, you will find that after repeating it and repeating it, interviews, you don't have to sweat that anymore. You're more focused on the job at hand. So my recommendation is that you prepare your story, make it a good one, because that's how you sell yourself. And then when it's time for you to do an elevator pitch, so to speak, when you have only 15 or 30 seconds, you will see how easy it is to get.
And if I could just follow up on that, when you're doing your pitch in an interview, in other words, when the employer says the dreaded, tell me about yourself, okay? Yes, it's absolutely good to start with that story, but then you need to customize it. You need to focus that story on that role. In other words, you tell the story in such a way that it says, all roads have led me to sit right here in this interview. So it's not a generic story anymore, but you're framing it and guiding it toward that opportunity, that role. So the employer knows that you're right for them. Okay. All right.
I would just add to that this morning when you all were on the the event today, this first thing that you heard was Shira's elevator pitch, and you may not have even known that, but she tailored it for this group, and she shared, you know, how she got to be sitting in this chair today leading this group, and that was her elevator pitch.
Yeah.
And so it's just,
it's a good point. In fact, I have different ones for different groups, right? Because I do a lot of things in the world. So when I'm talking to HR people, it's going to sound very different than when I'm talking to job seekers. Thank you, Corliss. That's exactly right. Yeah.
If I can add to that too, let me just say your elevator pitch is the same thing as your profile, your resume summary, and your cover letter. Those are all of the same facet of the same thing. So once you got that, you're pretty comfortable. It's not a laundry list of things, but you should be pretty comfortable in that area for the most part if you have it listed on all those 3 type of venues.
So there's a follow-up question here. It talks about how brief or extensive should your story be, and I'll take a little stab at this, but it's as long as it needs to be for that particular situation, right? So if Shira sat here and told us for 10 minutes about her background, we'd probably, you know, either be sleeping or dancing. I don't know. She tailored it to, you know, this situation. You all heard enough information from her that you knew that she had validity for what she's doing. She's valid in her role. And that's what you're trying to establish, that you know your stuff and that you're an expert in whatever it is you're communicating. I call it your slinky story. So you all remember the slinky, right? It's got to kind of connect in 2 places, right? So this is your historical experience. This is the organization you're targeting. The more clarity you can give to the slinky story, the more opportunities you're going to have, whether that be with your resume, with your interview, with your elevator pitch, with your networking. You're building a slinky story. And so just, you know, kind of use that visual as, you know, and sometimes the slinky is adjusted for the scenario. So
great. Thanks, Corliss. All right. So I'm looking at time. I'm sure there's a lot of things in the chat. Anything else, like maybe one other kind of power question that we can answer?
Yeah, how, if at all, can you move an interview to a job offer? Lots of interviews, but no offers. How do I move from one to the other?
Great. And because we haven't heard from Mike yet, Mike, do you want to take a stab at this first?
Sure. So let's see. So one of the most, and this is a fundamental, but the thank you note, there's thank you notes that are, you know, just okay, and then there's thank you notes that really can make a difference. The thank you notes that can really make a difference are the ones where you clearly heard and understood everything they talked about, all the key points of the job. You're recapping the conversation, you're recapping the qualifications that you mentioned, and then you're reiterating your interest, and you're really putting some time and effort into it. And I think that can go a long way to show you listened well during that interview. If there were 3 people that interviewed you, you can send individual thank you letters to all 3 of those people. And that shows you're genuinely, you're really interested in the role. So that is one way to really set yourself apart from other candidates.
Wholeheartedly agree with that. And another thing is, when you're in the interview, I always recommend showing up in that interview as if you were a consultant. What I mean by that is, you don't just want to be answering the questions that the employer is asking you. You want to be engaging in a dialogue, a thoughtful dialogue, where you're asking them questions too. Questions that will help to suss out what their business challenges are, what their situation is, how you can help. Maybe you have some on-the-spot ideas, and you're really kind of showing them what it would be like if you were in the role. Because the whole point of an interview, and the reason why employers use what's called behavioral interview questions, meaning past-based questions, they're trying to determine whether or not your past experience will actually help them solve their future problems. Most employers don't actually do a great job of sharing their challenges and getting from you how you might solve it in the future. So the extent to which you can engage them in that conversation could help them show them what it's going to be like when you're in the seat. So, okay, so with that, let's go ahead and transition. And I'm going to, if you want to go ahead and take a screenshot of our contact information. If you'd like to keep in touch with us, here we are. And again, if you need a past recording of today's session, feel free to go to purposefulhire.com/hire moment mastermind in the green. Also wanted to share with you some other job support groups in the area that offer free, mostly free services. Everything here from Career Network Ministry, POAC, 40 Plus, and Bang, and Career Confidence. Also, JCA offers this program called Career Gateway. It's $75. It's for a week, and I put it here at the bottom. The next Career Gateway class is November 9 to 18, and go ahead and grab that link if you would like to find out more information. And they specifically target folks who are 50 plus. So I wanted to share with you actually a new offering. We are going to be doing a spin-off group here from Higher Moment Mastermind. And it is a little bit different. So it is, we're going to call it Higher Focus. And I'm calling it Affordable Group Coaching. Now, the reason why this is birthed, and it's kind of, we're in process here, is because I actually have heard from a number of folks from Higher Moment Mastermind who've reached out to me personally for career coaching. We've had that exploratory conversation. And by the end of the conversation, they really wanted to work together, however, realized that their budget really wouldn't allow for that. And so I said, you know, how can we provide something that's going to be a little bit more of a curated experience, a tailored experience, something between what we're doing here, which you get complimentarily, of course, versus a higher investment of coaching. And so the idea here is that it's going to be limited to 10 people per session. It will be facilitated by a career expert. I will lead the first pilot group, and then we'll see if other experts that we have here want to join in. Corliss has already raised her hand to do one for federal job search. You're going to get peer mentoring. You're going to get a lot of support and accountability. But again, it's a limited group, so you get some real tailored, customized advice for your particular situation. Those of us who are facilitating will provide some discounts on other products and services. So the way that the logistics will work is that it'll be 90 minutes. It'll be $45 just as a drop-in rate. You don't have, it's not a cohort in the sense that you don't have to pay in advance. You don't have to pay, you know, it's not a whole package, but it's just per session. Please register up to 24 hours in advance. As I mentioned, I will host the pilot group. And for now, we're going to be offering this on Tuesdays from 12 to 1:40. It's really 12 to 1:30, but I'm tacking on a few minutes for housekeeping so that we really have a concentrated 90 minutes. If you are interested, we would ask that you complete this questionnaire. Here's the bit.ly link. I'll also put it in the chat box. And then once you do, and that questionnaire, by the way, will ask you questions about your tribe and your lane, right? Your industry, your profession. It'll ask you questions about what group coaching might, how it might benefit you, ways you'd like the format to be structured. So we're going to evolve this. And then you would register at a separate meetup site. It's not Higher Moment Mastermind, it's Higher Focus. Now, just bear with us here. This is a brand new concept. We're still working out the kinks of the logistics and the payment and all of that. And I will let you know that if you do go into the meetup site, the questionnaire link is there as well. And anytime you see a link, in Meetup, links are not hyperlinked in Meetup. You always have to copy and paste. We have learned that through hard knocks, okay? So if this is something you're interested in, feel free to complete the questionnaire and we're happy to consider you for it. I always like to end with an inspiring quote from the Bible, Psalm 23:6. Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So please be encouraged that God is with you and he loves you and he's supporting you in your journey. So with that, we're going to go ahead and go into speed networking. And so in your networking groups, kind of similar to what you just did earlier, but more specific, this is your pitch time, or at least a very short version of it. In a couple of minutes, please share with your group your lane, right? Your current or aspiring career field, your profession. And if you have a tribe, meaning an industry affiliation, which some of you don't, but some of you do, mention those two things. What a great lead for you, a great connection for you would be. And then, of course, go around the room and share any potential job leads you have with each other, share any power lessons that you might have. And again, we have this power networking spreadsheet for everyone, okay? So with that, let me go ahead and break you guys out into groups again. Give me one moment here. All right, so here we go.
Sherry?
Mm-hmm.
I sent you a quick, I noticed we both went to the University of Maryland.
Yes.
I sent you a request to connect on LinkedIn. So when you have a chance.
Happy to do that.
All right, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Did you, okay. Tammy, just making sure you know how to get into your room if you need to.